Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and AP English and our Roberts text. Here now we are treating in our poetics section Jane Hirshfield's The Lives of the Heart. Jane Hirshfield is an important poet in 303 for any number of reasons. We, of course, challenge ourselves every time we pick up one of her poems to read it. And this will be one of those poems which for many students is kind of a difficult poem to read at first. There is one or two things that can help us read this poem. I hope to maybe kind of guide you through this. First of all, let's get to Jane Hirshfield herself, born in 1953, great American poet, essayist, and of course translator, educated at Princeton, very influenced in the art of Zen Buddhism. And so when we pick up a poem, like for example, The Lives of the Heart, we're going to see already referenced this poem. It can at times read almost like a Zen koan, as we have talked about in other lectures, or when, for example, we've studied our Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. We're going to have to read beneath the words to get a sense of what it is that's being celebrated. In a word, and it seems Jane Hirshfield always is celebrating is the multi-dimensions of nature, the beauty of nature. And in fact, this is one of the great poems about nature. That is to say, The Lives of the Heart could be the lives of nature. Now, of course, you'll remember that we've had this discussion already a number of times about the use of the word heart in poems. Here we're going to see this word, and yet notice it won't be often referenced in the poem. Lives is plural, and so the first word of the poem is the plural verb are, right? Let's just read the poem and enjoy it. And then we'll come back to exegete at levels 2 and 3, right? Are The Lives of the Heart, from 1997, by the way, are ligneous, muscular, chemical, wear birch-colored feathers, green tunnels of horsetail reed, where calcified spirals, vibranian spheres, are edible, are glassy, are clay, blue cyst, can be burned as tallow, as coal, can be skinned for garnets, for shoes, cast shadows or light, shuffle, snort, cry out in passion, are salt, are bitter, tear sweet grass with their teeth, step silently into blue needlefall at dawn, thrash in the net until hit, rise up as cities, as serpentined magma, as maples, hiss lava red into the sea, leave the strange kiss of their bodies in Burgess shale, can be found, can be lost, can be carried, broken, sung, lie dormant until they are opened by ice, by drought, go blind in the service of lace, are starving, are sated, indifferent, curious, mad, are stamped out in plastic, in tin, are stubborn, are careful, are slipshod, are strong in the blue backs of flies on the black backs of cows, wander the vacant whale roads, the white thickets heavy with slaughter, wander the fragrant carpets of alpine flowers. Not one is not held in the arms of the rest to blossom. Not one is not given to ecstasy's lions. Not one does not grieve. Each of them opens and closes, closes and opens the heavy gate, violent, serene, consenting, suffering it all. Now we'll begin with this poem at the very end, suffering it all. And of course, if you know anything about Gautama Buddha and his enlightenment, then obviously the very first thing that he reveals after his enlightenment is life is suffering. And we immediately think of 3a of Auden's Musée de Beaux-Arts about suffering. They were never wrong, the old masters. The other thing we want to point out right away, and we've had students who will say this in 303 as they read this, especially when they got to that not one, not one. The repetitions, obviously, at 2b we're going to have to talk about, but students have said, where have I heard construction like that before? And of course it is Whitman's Leaves of Grass. This is a poem that in large measure really can't be fully appreciated without our appreciating Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Notice all of the different things that life and nature, the heart, is constructed and compared to. It's beautiful. All of the different lives. Notice they can be lives that are like rock. They can be unstable in some way. They can be edible, right? They can be like salt or grass that is eaten. They can be like lava from the volcanic eruptions. They can be like seeds that will lie dormant until they're opened by ice or by drought. That is to say, they can wander all through the world of nature. The vacant whale roads. There's our kinning for our study, of course, of the Exeter book, and you can find that at learnstrong.net or Beowulf, that kinning, right, the whale roads. And then finally, the repetitions. Notice the repetitions throughout this poem. Not one is held in the arms of the rest. Notice the word the rest can mean two things, right? The rest is in everything in nature. Thoreau argues this in Walden, as we've said. Everything in nature is unique unto itself, and yet somehow distinctly common and simple as well. Notice the word rest as in to rest is never the way of nature. To blossom, not one is not given to ecstasy's lions. That is to say, the mythology is always a part of Hirshfield's poetry. The mythic animals that vibrate with life, we might say. At 2a, well, obviously, the heart can be explained, the heart of nature can be explained in many different degrees. And as we said, this at 2b does read like a Zen koan. Notice again the lines, very loose and free-flowing. The repetitions, again, are powerful. Notice the question on page 691, question 3. How does the repetitiveness in this poem affect your perception of the lives of the heart? For example, all of the different repetitions are, can be, not one. The repetitions of verbs like step, thrash, rise up, hiss, lie, wander, opens and closes, and the reverse of that. Of course, at 3a, we can think, as question 5 on 691 asks us to, about Caruth's an apology for using the word heart in too many poems comes to mind. Many have argued, and we'll say this at 3a, that reading Hirshfield is a whole lot like reading Emily Dickinson, which in my mind is probably one of the finest compliments that can be made to the poetry of Hirshfield. The way you're always constantly reminded of Dickinson. We mentioned Whitman, but maybe even more Emily Dickinson. The brilliance of the economy of language to be able to say what strikes one first is complex, and then this may be the most simple complex poem that we read all during AP. Quite remarkable. Finally, at 3b, what is for you the most compelling thing about the lives of the heart, the heart of nature, that is to say? What is most remarkable for you and why? I hope that our study here has led you to more, desiring to read more of Hirshfield's stuff. We love her stuff in 303, right? Thank you.